Welcome to the Reconnection Club podcast, the show that helps parents heal troubled relationships with their adult sons and daughters. I'm your host, psychotherapist Tina Gilbertson. Each week, I'll offer you compassion, clarity, and personal development tips designed to help you reconnect, not only with your child, but with yourself. Now let's get started. Before there were office hours in the Reconnection Club, I used to host a monthly group Q&A call for parents estranged from adult children. You might remember that if you've been around for a while. This was done by telephone, and most of the questions were sent in ahead of time. I would read a question from a caller and then I would answer it, and occasionally someone would ask a question live because there were always parents on the call with me, but most of the time it was just me talking. We recorded 28 of these monthly Q&A calls, more than 2 years' worth, and those recordings are in the library at reconnectionclub.com. If you're a member, you have access to those anytime. Most of the questions on those group Q&A calls, including the one I'm going to share with you in a moment, were evergreen, meaning there's no expiration date. The topic is as relevant today as it was back then. I want to share one of those questions with you today. This one was brand new to me at the time, but today I've heard it many times from other parents. So you're about to hear me on the telephone reading a question and offering my thoughts, and I'll offer some more thoughts on this topic on the other side of this recording. The excerpt begins with me reading the question.
Throughout the materials on the website, one major theme seems to be that parents should get their emotional needs filled elsewhere and not expect anything emotionally from their children, whether connected or not. While I appreciate the wisdom of this approach, it seems pretty bleak, and I'm wondering, really? Psychologists recommend that we look forward to no joy and no caring from our children, only a one-way giving outward as parent? Well, this is a fantastic question, and I'm very surprised I've never heard it before. And I should say that I'm not a psychologist. I have a master's degree in counseling psychology and a license to practice therapy. So I'm a therapist, but not a psychologist. It's very confusing. There are a lot of different graduate degrees and licenses out there in the mental health profession. So it's nice to get a chance to try and clear that up a little bit. Anyway, there is a difference in my mind between relying on adult children as your main source of emotional supply versus enjoying them when they're around. And you can certainly feel joy in connection with your children without having to depend on them to meet emotional needs. And they can care about you without taking care of you emotionally. So what that often looks like is that the joy that parents feel tends to come from focusing on their kids' needs and desires and activities, and the joy that kids feel in the company of their parents is often in having their parents' attention and interest. And there may be times when these roles are spontaneously reversed in the moment, but in general, this is the paradigm. Many times parents will say to me, my kid doesn't even ask how I am. That's actually something I hear a lot. And someone does need to care and ask how you are. But if it's not your child, do you have someone else who cares enough to ask about you? Do you feel visible to someone else who matters to you, someone important to you? Because if your basic need for visibility is not getting met, you will be really anxious for your child to meet that need. But it isn't your child's job or role to do that, and many adult children will resent any expectation of that from them. It's like they'll give it maybe spontaneously if you're lucky, but if there's any kind of expectation or need there, they don't seem to respond well. I think children are attached to their parents in part because a parent is that person who is supposed to be interested in you, to be your biggest fan. So your kids rely on you to delight in them and to meet their emotional needs. And you presumably at some points in your life have relied on your own parents to do that for you. But you can still enjoy your kids in your capacity as the parent, and they can care about you without being responsible for your emotional needs being met. I think when your emotional needs are already met by your spouse or friends or your own parents, then the pleasure of spending time with your kids can really come from watching them thrive and from getting to know the adults that they've become and that kind of thing.
That was question 5 from the November 2019 group Q&A call, which members can find in our Q&A call recording archive inside the library at reconnectionclub.com. Please take note that I don't take questions ahead of time anymore. Nowadays, office hours questions are always live, so please don't send questions by email. Now let me offer another thought about today's topic. There's nothing wrong with wanting your adult child to care about you or to ask how you're doing. And the fact that that's not happening right now in that relationship does not mean you'll never get to experience feeling cared for and joyfully connected. You deserve that as much as the next person. But rather than stopping at wondering what's up with your adult child that they won't ask how you are, I hope you're also curious about the pain their behavior is causing in you. Is there a part of you that's been waiting to be known and cherished? If so, how have you responded to that need in yourself so far? We often turn away from ourselves in the vain, unconscious hope that someone important to us will provide what we need. Doing it ourselves feels like we're giving up on that. But that is not true. Sometimes the positive attention we pay to ourselves is the only thing that might help us attract the attention and interest of others. It's one of life's unending paradoxes. The more we genuinely give to ourselves, the more generosity we inspire toward us. A good therapist can support you in noticing and responding to some of your own needs while helping you become familiar with what it feels like to be truly attended to and cared about. I'll put a link to some therapist directories in the show notes. Remember, if you're a Reconnection Club member and you have a question for me, please do not send it in an email or a private message. You can ask it live during office hours, or you can post questions anytime in our members-only forums at reconnectionclub.com. There's so much wisdom and experience there for you to tap into from other members. Please read our posting guidelines carefully before using the forums. Until next time, remember that you are a loving, lovable, and still growing human being. So please take good care of yourself. Bye for now. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Reconnection Club podcast, I invite you to check out reconnectionclub.com. The Reconnection Club is for parents at any stage of estrangement from their adult, child, or children. So whether you've just realized there's trouble between you, you've been living with estrangement for years, or you're newly reconciled but still walking on eggshells, the Reconnection Club is your essential resource for information, support, and continued personal growth. With our courses and workshops, expert interviews, monthly Q&A calls, and a friendly, active community, the Reconnection Club is a wonderful place to be for anyone suffering the pain of estrangement from an adult, child, or children. So check it out at reconnectionclub.com.